the champagne glasses that all this happens.
Well.
But we will be talking, of course, about a couple of that within the regional news. Let's dive straight into the undertone of this conversation. Mercy, what have you heard so far? And I think I asked you this on Monday about the HIV. How prepared are you? I was asked this question last week and said, when was the last time you tested?
Oh, okay.
Yes. Too deep? Is that too deep?
Yeah,
is that too personal?
I did actually do test that very week last week.
Yes.
The other week actually when I was not feeling well. Of course they do tests and they test everything as well. So yes, that is where they get you.
That's where you got. Not they
that
get
is where
you.
they got.
That's where you get yourself. But the reality about it is, let's backtrack. 1994, we had the True Love Waits campaign that was brought in and really piloted or ushered in by different stakeholders, but of course embraced by the First Lady. Quite an amazing story. Uganda has been a poster child for quite a while in regarding the way it has handled the HIV and the ability also to have all these different strategies that actually brought down the rates significantly. And you had quite a number of countries come in as well to find out what has Uganda done. And we had the ABC campaign. You remember then?
Yes, the ABC campaign. Oh God.
During my time, I think you could have been a little bit a baby by then. During my time, the ABC campaign was so huge. We had guys come in and you know, the latest Limitex was there. Limitex was a very big music group by then. It was quite big. They had very good songs. And then they were brought in and you know, all the youth, most of the youth really gathered. It was quite huge. And what were they talking about? Abstain, and then be faithful, and then of course condom use. That was a huge strategy. It was brought out, and of course you had personalities like Phile Bongole Lutaya come out, and when they came out, they demystified, brought down the stigma, and brought it out and said, you know what, today it's me, tomorrow it could be you, so can you do something about it? And this was very instrumental. I think it was a shocker because it had quite a lot of stigma around it. Not very many. They were first thinking about witchcraft, dogo. Yes, and of course the different stepmothers and ex-wives and all these things were brought in. How does the one family die, an entire family is wiped off and you're still there alive, and then you come in and die later on? So quite a lot of things that in the African society that do not have, where people do not have a very good understanding, normally are just shelved under the bracket of witchcraft.
I think it has been the norm for Africa, or let's say in particular Uganda, even with the Ebola cases.
Yes, but when you talk about behavior, even Europe, surprisingly, the Europeans as well went through that phase of witchcraft, of the witchcraft stages, you know, during that time, the pre-Christian time.
Well, of course, the ABC has really worked because I think almost every year they put out over 25 million male condoms for use. And of course, the percentage, the penetration in secondary schools has increased to 79%. You know,
for condom use.
Encouraging.
Yes.
And of course, you've seen different restaurants, different I don't know, institutions having some, what is it called, a place where they put
the dispensers.
The dispensers.
Now this is the funny thing about these dispensers. I remember a couple of years back, I participated in one of the communities, and we were refilling as part of a CSR of the project that I worked for. And I remember we were refilling those condom dispensers. Now, when you are refilling them, It has permeated the cartoon, sector as well. The cartoon within the film sector, it is terrible. The film industry, you can't now be sure what is happening. There are different messages being, integrated into cartoons. So children are getting up. During that time of Tom and Jerry that we grew up on, Tom and Jerry, you wouldn't have all these kissy intimate scenes, but right now you do have them. And then of course an innocent child, 2 years and something like that, will be trying out innocently on someone else. So some of these, but getting back, let's move away from Tom and Jerry. Getting back, we give you some statistics here. There were significant reductions in Uganda from 135,000 new infections in 2010 to down by almost half to around 60,000 by 2016 in men and women. Further to this, now the mother-to-child transmissions dropped from 26,000 in 2010 to 4,000 in 2016. And of the 1.4 million people living with HIV, 1,041,000 people were enrolled in care, and 980,954 were immediately put on antiretroviral therapy. But also notably, when we get back to this and fast track, we have had quite a number of successful interventions, especially down here in Uganda. And remember, we mentioned that Uganda has been a poster child for quite a while, until right now where concerns are coming back because of a resurgence in the infection rates coming back. But all in all, definitely we do get to see a number of things. 1994, the True Love Waits campaign brought out successively almost immediately after the ABC as well strategy brought out, that was very instrumental. Of course, this was coupled with a couple of other billboards. Communications media was brought on board in regards to that. Billboards were all over the place, talks, as well as integrating the different families and communities and different stakeholders. So it really did pay off in regards to this. And then also lastly, talking about it, the initiative brought in by the presidential to fast track this as well. I believe that came in later on. And this particular approach, and also in partnership with the UNAIDS, over the next 5 years allowed quite a lot of milestones in Uganda to be reached in regarding the HIV/AIDS epidemic that was there. Now, the set targets that were reached by 2020 that had been set included the 90-90-90, having 90% tested immediately, having 90% put on ARVs, and then having the viral load of 90 of those suppressed. It was a wonderful approach, and I believe most of the targets have been reached. Now, remember, within the updates, business updates, as well as ensuing conversations, we're going to find out what happened. We have had all the past successes come up, but where are the gaps? What is failing and what is happening? That will be it. If you want to participate in this discussion, please get onto our social media pages. Like Mercy's mentioned, you can find us on X. You can find us as well on Facebook. Get there and let us know what you think about this. We will be ready to welcome you as part of this.
Before I go, in 2008, Uganda lost 25 billion Ugandan shillings from Global Fund.
Yes.
And the reason was due to poor accountability.
Corruption.
Yes. So that
corruption.
And more at 8.
Up to now, that's Mercy. Up to now, remember there is quite a sweeping. Yeah. There is quite a sweeping and a resurgence. And if you have seen the cartoons, there is that big stick being held by the president right now. But that is where I think most of the drama started.
That is where it started.
Yes.
Yes. Poor accountability.
Call it as it is, corruption.
Oh yeah.
And I remember notable persons were thrown in over that. Notable persons were thrown into jail, but it didn't last long. But up to now, when the fight against corruption comes in, always people will look back to that moment when it was aired. When it was aired.
Yeah, I do remember.
Yes.
I do remember. And of course, here in Uganda, I think the Gen Zs or the youth are set I don't know, honestly.
It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot coming in, but we will be looking at that. Right now, let's dive into the press review and just give you a little bit of a hint into what is in the papers. Your New Vision, get your daily monitor in breaking headline news right now. PDM cash, 6 parish chiefs arrested. This is serious. This is serious. Some news coming in there. 6 parish chiefs so far have been arrested. Not so much has been disclosed.
Uganda never disappoints, honestly. That is why we are encouraging people to speak out.
Transparency.
Transparency is really good.
Whistleblower. The whistleblower policy should be activated.
People are really afraid to speak out.
But this has been it has been demarcated or come up actually in Luweero and Mukono districts, and they're still being investigated. Remember, 2.4 trillion was disbursed, and according to the finance minister, a total of 2.4 trillion has so far been provided for the PDM model. He said the money is being transferred directly to the beneficiaries in 10,585 parishes across the country. Yes. Now remember, there's quite a lot of spotlight on this, and so much is not being taken for granted. Arising gaps, emerging gaps in this are totally being followed up to be addressed. So no wonder a couple of this is happening.
Someone asked me, some interesting question, and he said, he asked, do Ugandans really need the money? Once I am given the money, 1 million, okay, or so, or more, 1.5. The one thing I'm going to think about is buying
basic needs, meeting my basic needs first. Right now it's halfway through the term in most places, paying school fees balances.
Exactly.
So sometimes the way this money comes out, and it has been, these concerns have been raised over and over again, that they come out just slightly before presidential elections.
You cannot eradicate poverty through money.
You
cannot. And the PDM is okay, but maybe the method in which they're using is not correct.
We will have much more on that within the New Vision as well. Museveni in his speech I'm also setting up both a tax investigation unit and an accountancy and audit unit. This is from the president. The corruption we are facing now has got 2 dimensions. One is the stealing of government money, taking bribes from the public to provide government services, misusing the procurement procedures, as well as different things. They have been gotten down to the nitty-gritties of the different phases of corruption, and it is still on. The rest is still on for this. Prioritize youth unemployment like it was with HIV or COVID-19. Some news coming in there. And then interestingly, 60% children do not attend pre-primary. Remember, we've had this discussion, I think, partly through last month, and we talked about the education system, especially talking about ECDCs during that time. So it is still coming out in this. So much has to be done about the early childhood development stage in Uganda, whereas it wasn't, and credit must be given as well, we do insist on this, that a lot has been done, whereas most of the times it was still under the basis of anyone can start it up. If you have a garage, you could as well start it up. That is how the belief was in the past, but now there is quite a lot of insistence on quality, on standards within the ECD, but of course a lot still has to be done. And then back into, of course, what is happening with our oil and petroleum. There is over 345 billion petroleum fund unutilized, despite efforts by the government to set up a committee to foresee the investment in Uganda's oil revenues. An audit of the fund shows that a total of 345 billion remained unutilized as of May 2024. get your new vision and find out why this is happening.
Well, of course, as we wrap it up, seeing here new government jobs rule, and of course, looking at the fire before you hire. And of course, the government has applied brakes on the new hiring to fill vacant public service slots, so that employees likely to be affected be on the ongoing merger of agencies can get assured fresh employment.
Okay.
Well,
most have been wondering what is going to happen. What is our fate, by the way? And then you find all these different things, like the different phases of corruption. There is quite a lot of bribery in those corridors. And even when you tell them, you know what, we are part and parcel of those who are waiting, they're very quick to come in and say, well, can I make sure that my position is intact?
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, we shall have, you know, you hear scandals of people paying some money to up front just to secure a space.
Even before the entire process is even talked about, they know for sure it's survival of the fittest.
Yeah, well, of course, talking about corruption, the members of parliament here in a docket, yeah, and of course accused of facing charges of misappropriation of 3.4 billion meant for compensating cooperatives that lost properties during the past war. That is why it's still on. It's still on, and really people are being affected. Muntuawansi is being affected every now and again, and of course officials call for reforms in student loan schemes. Yeah.
But have you met anyone who has benefited from this loan? How many are there?
Honestly, I did.
Tell us.
I did apply, and
we have to know this.
I did apply, but
when? This year? Last year?
No.
Yes.
20.
Sometime back.
Yeah, like 6 years ago. Yeah, I did apply, but I don't know the criteria they do use.
What was the? Did they even give you feedback?
Never.
You just weren't. You know, we need to know who are these people.
Got feedback.
Who are these people that get to be successful?
No, you give in something for something, you get. Oh yeah, that's the thing. You know,
dear. It is everywhere. You know, that's something for something. Is everywhere. You know
that really in Uganda, you're giving something for something.
Unfortunately, it's permeated everything. Mindset issues, and this is where the crackdown comes from. This is where the crackdown comes from, because it's instead of now coming in from the citizens saying, you know what, this is how it is. Maybe you as well should be part and parcel and look at how you are perceiving some of these and how your mindset has already been. Power struggles rock NCHE. What is there? Population surge strains Luwero's health sector. Yeah. We
need more of this. That's where our money is getting lost. Money that is meant to, you know, to
come in and do some good.
Yeah, some good. I mean, 3.4 billion could do something actually.
It is such a dire situation when you get into a hospital.
I mean, most of these healthcare don't have medication. You will go and they will find, you know what, go and buy this to a clinic.
The medical supplies.
The medical supplies, and of course we can't rule out the fact that most of these medical doctors have
private clinics. Elsewhere.
Yes, they refer you to their. They will definitely refer you to their clinics. So it's quite alarming due to what is happening in the health sector. You know, they've also been advocating for increase of salaries.
Yes, so there's been quite a lot done, and really, I'm all for the view of credit must be given. There has been a little bit of crackdown in regards to this, and I know the whistleblower policy is in effect totally when it comes to the Ministry of Health, but I also know there is quite a lot that still needs to be done in regards to this. Can we just wrap up when it comes to the Monitor?
Well, that is it for the Daily Monitor. I guess we shall be giving you more of what is happening in our country again, but so far this is what is making headlines, the mergers and people, you know, hoping to get some slots in government. Yeah, that and more. Of course, it's just 33 past 7 a.m. Let's go in for a short breather. We shall be back. Do stay tuned on Sport 24 TV.